Hey, what's up guys? Marc here, and in today's episode of Portfolio Review, we'll be reviewing 4 different portfolios from up and coming artists, and at the end of the video, I'll be revealing which one I prefer the most and why. The sponsor for this video is, well, myself. I'm an instructor and I put together a complete art education program called Art School for Digital Artists. It's meant to give complete beginners and more advanced artists a complete art education to basically allow you to go out there and do whatever you want to do with your art successfully. So if you're interested to check it out, you can find a link to the entire program in the top right corner of the screen right here, and of course I'll put links to that down in the description below. So back to the video, let's review some portfolios. Alright, so today's video we're going to be covering 4 different artists. So in the previous episodes we've been tackling only 2, and I felt I was a little bit limiting, and so many of you guys submitted your own portfolios to review, so I wanted to cover a little bit more ground. And by the way, if you don't know who I am and why I'm reviewing portfolios, well, I've been a professional artist for about 15 years now. Just like you've seen in the quick message about art school, I'm also an instructor, so this is what I do for a living, and hopefully the feedback will be valuable. So for today, I just basically went down the list and picked the 4 that were next. It also happens that they're all pretty good, but that's not necessarily a requirement for to be featured in these videos. And by the way, if you want to submit your own portfolio, if you haven't already, feel free to put a link to it down in the description below, along with a short summary of your goals, of your art goals. And who knows, maybe you'll be in a future episode. Now, in this video, I won't be doing any paint overs or anything like that because I just don't have time if I'm covering more people. So let me know what you prefer. Do you prefer this format where I kind of go over more people? Or do you prefer the previous format where I cover only 2 people and kind of go more in depth about each of those portfolios? So as I've said, this video is going to be a little bit different than the other ones because I won't be reviewing like the portfolio itself, but I'll be reviewing the art this time. So, but not any piece in particular. So it's really more like feedback for the body of work that I see, kind of the things that the artist should be working on if they hope to achieve their goal at some point. I won't be critiquing everything, obviously. I'll just pick like 1 or 2 things that would have the greatest impact, the greatest positive impact if those things were addressed. So let's take a look at the first one. We have here Luca. He's saying that he'd love to be a fantasy artist, mainly focusing on storytelling illustrations. He sees himself working on TCG illustrations and book covers. And also, to narrow it down, his dream client would be Wizard of the Coast, mainly working on like games like Magic the Gathering. So that's a great goal. It's very precise, very achievable also. Now, when it comes to the art itself, I think all of your, at least most of your pieces suffer from 2 main issues, 2 fundamental issues I think you would really benefit in kind of leveling those up, and that would be composition and values, but they're kind of working together in this case. So let's pick kind of like a random one. Most of them have this problem, so let's just grab this one here. This one is a good example because it really represents your overall portfolio well. Whenever you click on a piece of art like this, you kind of have this wow, right? So this wow moment. All of your pieces are really, really well done when it comes to the colors. The subject in general is kind of interesting, and it's always very striking. So your color use is very dramatic and it looks awesome. So what I wanted to point out here is going to be the problems in composition because of your use of values. So this sounds a little bit abstract, but what it does basically when you don't do it well is that it makes it harder for the viewer to figure out where to look, how to appreciate this painting. So it's kind of your job as the artist, right? To guide the eye of the viewer where you want it to go, to convey, if there's a story in here, to convey your story, or to generate the emotions that you want to generate. So one of the most important thing here to guide the eye is going to have to do with values. And basically in your case here, you'll find often that the foreground and the middle ground of your paintings share similar values, and that tends to flatten your image a lot. And you can kind of see it here. So you look at the character in the foreground here, you know, you go like pretty dark, right? Almost pure black, and you go pretty bright as well, almost pure white. But the contrast is exactly the same on the character that's behind him. And so this would tend to indicate that they are both at equal distance from the camera, because their contrast is the same. But of course that's not the case, right? So the character in the middle ground is further back. So yeah, this one's another good one. Here, another example. You can see on the character himself, you know, you have a lot of really dark colors, really bright colors, but in the foreground, your dark colors don't go as dark as the darks on the character himself, and the character is further back, right? So another random image here. Looks awesome as usual, right? So like this wow effect, your light's always very striking, but your values again are the same throughout the entire image. The contrast here is the same in the foreground that it is on the character himself than it is in the background. And so as again, it tends to flatten your image, and most of it has to do with just your values, your treatment of values. So I would highly recommend that you pay closer attention to that when working on new pieces. Try to be conscious of your values and the amount of contrast, so the balance between whites and the darks, the whites and the blacks, making sure that this contrast is higher for everything that's closer to the camera, and having that become less and less and less with distance. This one here is another one where this is definitely a problem. All right, both of these characters are fighting for attention. It's hard to pick one. Should I look at the one in the foreground? Should I look at the one behind him? They're both equally as contrasting. So yeah, make sure that you work on that, and I think your paintings will just look even better because they're already awesome. So if you want to check out more of Luca's art, I highly recommend it. He's got an incredible gallery, a lot of content to appreciate, and I'll put a link to his portfolio down in the description below. All right, next we are going to take a look at the portfolio of Nang. So I'm hoping I'm not butchering your names, but Nang is so she's doing her final year for her bachelor's in design, and she wants to do illustrations, mainly character focused. So I took a look at her portfolio, and she is a very talented graphic designer. So a lot of this is just awesome. Very nice illustrations, very nice characters overall. So as I was looking and browsing through Nang's portfolio here, looking at characters mainly because that's her goal, the one thing that I really noticed is just anatomy, proportions in general. So there's always going to be some sort of problems left and right. So for your more stylized images like this one here, no problem at all. This looks really good. Style works for that, no problem here. It'll be more when you do these kinds of things here. So when the drawing is a little bit more realistic, that some issues are going to start to creep in. So in this one here, you can kind of see the leg is like pretty straight. Also very long, so her upper leg, her thigh is very long, lower leg also, but then there's the connection to the foot here, to her left foot, where she has like this really big heel. In the armpit here, the line's not quite there, so you normally see a little bit more of the latissimus dorsi, kind of creates the shape for this particular angle. So a few anatomy mistakes left and right that kind of impact negatively, right, the art. It's not something that you necessarily notice right away, so that's good. It means that it's not like too distracting, but it's kind of a recurring theme here. So I would definitely recommend that you do a little bit more like gesture, like figure drawing studies, and basically just use references a lot more when you work on your art, even for the most stylized stuff. So in here, there's no real mistakes per se. Although this arm here, the way that's positioned, if you extend her elbow for it to be as long as her upper arm, not her elbow, but if you extend her lower arm or forearm to be as long, or to reach the elbow, it'll go like down here probably, and then this makes her upper arm way too long. So problem in the position here. Maybe if the angle of the hand was a little bit different, like coming towards us a bit more, then you could have imagined that the arm is foreshortened in a particular way, but that's not the case here, so that's a problem. The face also feels pretty flat, although it could be a style choice. This one's more stylized, works really well, nothing to mention here. This one works quite well too. It looks like you've used a reference for this, but her right arm is way too long. So usually you want to have the hands kind of line up with your crotch, you know, maybe go a little bit past with the fingers, if you count the fingers. So a little bit too long. Yeah, still a minor issue. So this looks great. Stylized stuff all looks really good. So we have another problem here. So if you look at the length of the upper arm, right? So this one here, from here to here, and then from here to the hand. Well, we can see the lower arm is just too short, right? In comparison, this looks okay. This one looks really good, but the hand here and how the arm is connected to the hand is definitely some anatomy issues there. So you have very interesting style. This is also a problem. So this arm is too short. The hand connection looks kind of weird compared to the other arm that's clearly longer. So yeah, nothing to say about your style. It looks awesome. Your design stuff is really on point. Your colors are really nice, very pleasing to look at. Nice line quality. All there is to really critique here, in my opinion, is just your anatomy. Make sure that you pay closer attention to your proportions. Use more references, even for the stuff that you might think is more stylized. I think it definitely needs it. And that's pretty much it. So that's what I would focus on if I were you, and I hope that helps. And then we're going to move on to the next one. So of course you can find Nang's portfolio link down below. Moving on to the next one here by Alex. So his goal is to be a concept artist for a studio like Riot, Valve, Blizzard. So very precise, very to the point. Got it. So let's take a look at your portfolio. So when we open it up, this is what we see here. So you got a lot of very nice drawings, nice line quality, nice line weight, nice structures, nice anatomy. In your case, your portfolio is really good. So design-wise, you know, you have a lot of cool ideas. But there's one thing that I would definitely highly recommend that you spend a little bit of time to consider, would be the level of polish for your art. So I was looking, and there's really nothing that's kind of done. It almost looks like everything is left in a sketch phase, or a sketchy phase, or an unfinished phase, and that's fine, you know, to have a bunch of art that's like that. But it's really important that you have some pieces that the employer can look at and be like, okay, so this is, let's say we give him enough time, that's what you can do, that's what the person can do. So we know kind of the range. But in your case, we don't really know that. So, you know, this guy looks dope, right? So like super well done, nice proportion, nice everything. His face very well rendered. The materials, you know, the outfit, at least the top of his outfit looks great, but the rest is just kind of like an afterthought. And we're kind of left, you know, feeling hungry after looking at all of this. That's the same thing everywhere. So all of these, you know, looks very nice at first glance, but then none of these are that polished. Same with these, nice at first glance, but all of them are kind of sketchy, you know, like the details in the boots and the legs and the torso. It's not really there, you know. It's we get a good idea, but it's not that polished. I mean, this image here could be much better if you spent a little bit more time to really render out each of those characters. And that's kind of the theme across your entire portfolio here. So a lot of really cool art, a lot of cool ideas, but it's just all of it is unfinished, and I wish it wasn't. I wish there was a couple of pieces that we can really kind of just be wowed by. And that's pretty much it, you know, when it comes to your portfolio. That's all I had to point out. Everything else is really nice. Maybe one other thing would be to place all your best work at the top, so that when people land on your page, you know, they don't have to scroll to find the gems. It's all up there. So like these sketches, these black and white sketches, they look great, but I would just put them down in the hierarchy, you know, so that people get to them last. Usually he tried to keep the highly technical, the skill-based work higher on your page, because then it kind of lets other people know as well that you know that those were good, that those are the best ones. When it's all a little bit random, it's like you don't even know yourself. So there you go, Alex. Very nice, a lot of cool drawings here. So if you want to check out Alex's portfolio, highly recommend it. He's got a lot of really cool stuff. And link down in the description below. And then the last portfolio is going to be from Ramsey. So Ramsey wants to do, his goal is to be 2D illustrator for Blizzard or Riot. When looking at Ramsey's art, it's really good. So at first glance, it's always like, wow, this guy should be a pro already, right? So if you look at this, wow, amazing colors, cool pose, very dynamic. You know, you look at this and be like, oh yeah, that could have been done by a Blizzard artist already, no problem. Same with this, super dynamic, really cool colors, like chunky shapes, nice textures overall, nice lights, nice volumes. So really, really good stuff. But that's only at first glance. And the reason why you probably haven't reached your goal yet is likely because of smaller mistakes that you really pick up on if you stare at the image a little bit longer. So I've done a quick paint over with just one of your image, and I didn't actually paint over everything that I noticed, but this one was a good example. So it's one of these illustrations that you have in your portfolio that are really, really good at first glance, right? You look at this and it's like, wow, this looks awesome. But if you look at it a little bit more closely, you'll notice that this is the actual paint over, and I want you to pay attention to the hand here and to the eye of the character if I remove my changes. So very subtle for the eye, right? So the eye in this case, just a little bit too high. It's not that big of a deal, but it kind of deforms his face a bit too much. So I've just pulled it down a bit and given enough space between the eyeball and the upper eyelids and the eyebrow to actually exist, because in your case, the upper eyelid kind of just disappears underneath the eyebrow, so that's strange. And then the hand, after the paint over, before the paint over, the fingers all seem like kind of broken. So yeah, the hand really doesn't look that good. And then there's another problem with the shoulder area here. So the shoulder and the bicep, how that connection is working right now, definitely doesn't work, you know, from an anatomy standpoint. So there would be some extra work to do here to make that work. And that's the recurring theme with your art. So usually everything is really, really good. You look at this and it's like, wow, dope. But then you look at the finger and the hand, it's like, oh, wait a minute, something's wrong with these fingers. Like these two fingers, especially pointing in the wrong direction. The middle finger is a little bit long. So yeah, this hand looks kind of broken actually. And then you can look at the other arm here. If the elbow is right here, this is a really, really long forearm for his upper arm, which seems to be pretty short. Look at this one here, again, very, very nice at first glance, but then you can notice how short the upper arm is in comparison to the lower, to the forearm. This one's really good. I just think like some of the colors maybe, or some of the designs are getting lost. Like I'm not too sure what's going on here for like in her torso area. This one here, very good too. Although the face, for me personally, doesn't really work, you know, in the Warcraft universe, or even for Riot. It's just maybe it looks a little bit too realistic compared to everything else, and not that appealing. Now going back to this one here, the first one I took a look at, it seems like both her arms and her head are too small for the torso that she's got. Her left upper arm is way too short, especially compared to her right one. This one here, the face, there's something in the face, you know, it doesn't look quite good. Some structural issues. The fingers also look a little bit strange, so the hand looks a little bit broken. When it comes to the torso here, you know, like just anatomy wise, the obliques and how that mixes with the serratus anterior muscles and how that all interacts with the latissimus dorsi, it's hard to see where the rib cage is in there, and the muscles really don't make a whole lot of sense. So all of this, and like the way that the biceps connected to the deltoid, also there's some sort of problem there. So it's always like the second read that you start to notice these things, and it mostly has to do with just anatomy. So I would really, really recommend that you use more references for your work. So yeah, that's pretty much it in this case. So Ramsey, really good art in general. I think the key to reaching your goals is really going to be in that second read, making sure that everything is super tight in here, making sure that the anatomy has no flaws whatsoever, because you can't have that. You know, if they're hiring you to do promo art, it has to be on point. And so that's really kind of the one thing that I noticed that's common across all your pieces here. Work on that anatomy, level it up, use more references, and I think you'll reach your goals in no time, because your art is really good. So that is going to be it for today, guys. So I hope this was helpful. As I promised at the beginning of the video, I am now going to reveal which portfolio I enjoyed the most, or which portfolio I liked the most, and why. And well, we just happen to be looking at it. So Ramsey's portfolio to me is the best one, because it's the one that requires the least amount of work. So that was my requirement for today. Which portfolio is the closest to getting you to your goal? And this one right here is definitely it. Like I said, the only real problem is your anatomy in some areas. Other than that, you have really good sense of aesthetics. You know, your composition always very pleasing to the eyes. Your colors are really pleasing to the eyes. You just make a ton of great decisions. So yeah, it's an awesome portfolio to look at, and it's awesome to see also that you're so close to your goals, right? If you just fix your anatomy, everything will work out. And I feel like you have a really bright career ahead of you. I see no reason why they wouldn't hire you, you know, once you fix those issues, because it's professional quality other than what I mentioned. So again, for everybody else watching, if you want to look at Ramsey's portfolio more in details, there'll be a link down in the description below. But for now, let's wrap this video up. Make sure to let me know what you think of this new format, or if you have better ideas for the format, some things that might be better. I don't know. Let me know down in the comment section. And that is going to be it for today. I hope to see you in the next video as well, and I'll see you guys next time.